A holiday dinner is not like your typical midweek meal. There's more dishes, more ingredients, more guests, more headaches. It's sort of like planning a catering event. And having done a few hundred of those in my past, I'd like to say I know a thing or two about the subject. Whether you're planning a meal for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, or whatever the occasion, I want you to watch this video because today I'm going to share with you my 4-step process for managing a major meal. That's on this episode of Cookin' with Kibby. Cookin' with Kibby. We'll make some yummy food. Cookin' with Kibby, yeah. Something that rhymes with food. So put on an apron and grab you a knife. You're gonna have the time of your life. Cooking and cutting and chopping and mixing and stirring and cooking and cutting and stuff. Cooking with Kibby. 'Cause Kibby's your cooking dude. Hey everybody, it is Chef Kibby, and if this is your first time on the channel, Cookin' with Kibby is here to help you and your family get back to the kitchen, cooking and eating together, because I believe life is better when we're cooking together. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button somewhere down here below me and ring the bell for notifications. Up until March of this year, my family and I had a catering business. It was launched many years ago as a result of just some friends from church who had asked us to cater their wedding. From then on, we've catered events for upwards of over 400 people. That all came to a screeching halt in March of 2020 when the whole COVID-19 pandemic hit. And people were no longer permitted to meet and especially to eat in large groups. And so we had to make the hard choice and shut down the catering business. However, all of that knowledge and experience is still right up here in my noggin, and I've still found ways of utilizing that information. And one of the ways I've been able to utilize that experience has been in my home kitchen when planning meals for large groups. If you are a home cook that does not have experience in catering large groups of people, this can be a very intimidating process. And that's why I'm so glad that you're here on the channel right here, right now, because I'm going to teach you my 4-step process for planning a major meal. And you can use these same steps to plan your next major meal. Let's start with step number 1, and that is choosing recipes. It may seem obvious that yes, you need to pick recipes, but it's important the way you choose your recipes. The types of recipes that you choose can have a major impact on the end result. So let's go through some different things you should consider when choosing the menu for your meal. The first thing you should consider is balance. You want to have a good balance of the different food groups. You want to have proteins, starches, fruits, vegetables, dairy, all of those good things. We also want to have a balance in color. When I think of Thanksgiving, I think of turkey and dressing and mashed potatoes and biscuits. And there's something that all of those things have in common. It's a whole lot of brown. That's not to say that it isn't delicious, but colors give our brains a signal of how much we're going to enjoy something. And so when we have a bland looking plate, it inhibits our ability to fully enjoy the meal. The other thing about color that you'll find interesting is that the more colors you add, the more likelihood you have of a more balanced and nutritious meal. So color not only adds vibrancy to the plate, it looks more appealing and more appetizing, but you're also providing yourself and your dining guests with a wider assortment of vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. Taking the brown Thanksgiving plate as an example, things that you can add to that would be something orange, like sweet potatoes. We do a mashed herb sweet potatoes, or maybe some green, like some asparagus or roasted Brussels sprouts. And then, of course, you've got the bright, vibrant red color of some homemade cranberry sauce. Which, yeah, you can get the stuff from the can. I'm not knocking it. It is delicious. Those ridges are delicious. All right, so we have balance in nutrition and balance in color. We also need a balance in the equipment. Now this one is probably a little bit of a surprise to you, but when you stand back and listen to it, I think it will make a lot of sense. So we want to look for balance in the equipment that we're using, both in preparing the meal and also storing it. How many times has this happened to you, where you go to the grocery store after shopping for a big meal or a big weekend, and you realize you don't have enough fridge space for it? You're going to need to consider what items are going to be going into the refrigerator or the freezer, or can be stored in the pantry. If you're fortunate enough to be doing this during the cold weather months, and you can take maybe some of your fresh produce or your sodas and put them out in the garage or a cold and safe place out on the back porch, then, more power to you. That brings me to the fourth and final point about equipment in the preparation of a dish. Let me know in the comments section if this has ever happened to you. You planned a meal, you begin to prepare it, and then suddenly realize, oh no, I have 3 different elements of this dish, all of them going in the oven. All of them are supposed to be in there at different temperatures and staying in the oven for different times. What do you do? This can often happen around big meals because things like the oven, there's a lot of space in there, and so it's a great way to kind of put things in and set it and forget it. But if you have too much going into the oven at one time, not only does it make it hard to kind of set it and forget it because you have different temperatures and different time frames. If you forget it, you might end up, ruining something, but also overloading the oven can reduce its efficiency, and so things are going to end up taking longer. How many times has it happened to you where you have 4 burners and there's a pot on every single one of them? That becomes a real challenge to manage as well. So consider the different pieces of equipment that you have in your kitchen, whether an oven or a stove or a roaster or an Instant Pot. If it happens to be during the time of the year when you can throw something on the grill, that is great too. If you have a smaller kitchen, you may have less to work with, or you may get to a point where you might want to invest in a piece of equipment like an Instant Pot or a roaster or an air fryer or something like that. So that is step number 1, choosing the recipes. And there's a lot there, so hopefully you've already gotten a lot of value out of this video. So now let's get on to step number 2. Once you've planned the recipes and you know how many people for which you are cooking, then you need to plan a shopping list. Nowadays, we are so fortunate to have so much more technology available to us that I have, this phone right here where I can open up an app such as Our Groceries and load in my shopping list there. What's nice about the Our Groceries app is that it allowed me to organize my shopping list the way I shop. I will leave a link in the show notes as well to the Our Groceries app. It is a free app, so it's not like I'm getting any affiliate money for it. It's just, I recommend it because it's been so helpful for me and my family. So once you've picked out the recipes and you've pulled out all the ingredients you need for those recipes, compile them all together into a succinct shopping list. Now, step number 3 is then creating a production list. This is something that I've often had to do with my catering events. I would take each of the dishes and lay them out, and then on one sheet of paper or one virtual document, and then for each recipe, for each dish, laying out each step in the process of producing it. So let's say for Thanksgiving last week, what were the steps that I had to follow when preparing a turkey? Well, first I'd have to thaw it out, and then season it, and chop up all the vegetables that go along with it, and bring all the ingredients together, and then go through the process of cooking it, roasting it, making the gravy, slicing it, and presenting it at the table. Now, I do that for every single dish, every single recipe, laying out all the individual steps in the process. That way, I have everything that I have to do all in one place. I don't have to keep flipping from one recipe to another to know what steps are involved in making it. Then, next to each step, listing an estimated time frame for which it should take place. Some things may only take 5 or 10 minutes. Some things, like thawing a turkey for Thanksgiving, would take 3 to 5 days. And all of those time frames are very important because those minutes, those hours, those days all add up. And when you get to the end of your recipes, you want to have decided when it is you want all these dishes to be finished. Let's say, Thursday at 2 o'clock, I want to have all of these dishes done and ready to serve. If you know how long each of these steps will take you, then it's just a matter of working backwards and going to that last step and saying, well, this last step takes about 10 to 15 minutes, so I need to get it started by 1:45 if I want to have it done at 2 o'clock. And you do that with all of the steps, working backwards so that you know when each part of the process needs to be started. You're now creating deadlines by which each step of each recipe needs to be finished, and it will go such a long way to help you managing your time. So now we know what we're making, we know what ingredients we need to buy, we know what steps need to be done. Now it's time to get to step number 4, and that is delegating. Yes, I know my kitchen back here has an island, but that doesn't mean that I have to cook like one, and the same goes for you. Food television often glamorizes the ability of a chef to just be given a secret ingredient or open up a basket of things that they're supposed to cook and just immediately be able to put together a menu and know who's supposed to do what and when and how. But in the real world, that's not often the case. And in fact, the reason those chefs are able to do that on the fly so easily is because they have practiced these 4 steps so many times in the past. And this 4th step is very, very important. It is important for you to understand, as I've had to come to an understanding, that I don't have to be the only one to do all the cooking. And this is a great opportunity for you to delegate things to the other members of your family or to even some of the guests that are going to be hanging around before the dinner is finished, to give them some things that they can do. The kitchen is more than just a place where food is made. It's a place where memories are made, and it's a place where relationships are built. And a big meal like this is a great opportunity for you to create some traditions and memories around cooking and eating together with your family. You can take that production list and that timeline and pick out different items off of the different dishes that you can then assign to other members of your family. It doesn't have to involve sharp knives or open flames either. It could be simple things like setting the table or doing the dishes as the cooking process is going along. That alone can make such a huge difference in your ability to stay timely and to keep things going on the right track. I can't remember how many times I've been in the kitchen and the dish that I want is something that I've already used in another recipe. And so having somebody there in the kitchen to just wash dishes as we go, it helps to keep the flow moving right along. There's so many things that young people can do, and if you begin to involve them in this process early on, then this could become a great part of your holiday tradition of involving them in the process again and again. Now let's recap what we've talked about so far. So step 1, choosing the recipes, considering having the right balance of nutrition, of color, and also of the equipment that is going to be utilized through the process. Step 2, determining your shopping list based on the ingredients you need for all of the assorted dishes. Step 3 is creating a production list so you know what needs to be done and when. The 4th and final step in the process is then delegating so that everyone who is involved in the process knows what they're responsible for doing and when it needs to be done. If you can handle those 4 steps, you're going to go a long way to having a much more enjoyable cooking process this holiday season. Now there's one other secret ingredient that, quite honestly, I've just discovered that has taken my cooking, especially at the holidays, to a whole new level. And I've shared that in another video that I really want you to watch because I think it could make a huge difference in your life as well. So please go check that out. I'll be here waiting. What is your next step? What is the first thing that you're going to do to help your next meal go smoothly? I would love to know. Let me know in the comment section below this video, and also let me know what else you would like to learn. What else can I do to serve you, to help you and your family get back in the kitchen cooking and eating together? Because I believe life is better when we're cooking together. Thank you so much for watching. Happy cooking, and until next time, I'll see you in the kitchen.